What happens when you catch a cold? Your mom makes chicken soup. What happens when you can't stop losing? You schedule a series against the Chicago White Sox. Can the Twins finally get some traction against Major League Baseball's worst team, or at least the AL's worst team? Are the Twins actually the Spider-Man or Spider-Men in this meme? Quick, before the cold beds really kick in, let's get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again, everybody. And welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. We count it all down. Personally, It's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team, your team every day. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe where applicable. Twins fans want to hit a lot of things right now. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer who plays hurt, sick, dead, whatever you got. I'm also a BBWA member and a Hall of Fame voter. Across the Great Plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warren, who's only hurting because the Twins can't seem to get out of their own way. And we're both when we both predicted that they'd win the AL Central. Still could happen, right? Yeah. Brandon was a Twins fan who became a Twins writer, and now he's both. You can't find us at Puckett's Pond anymore. Maybe you can't even find Puckett's Pond anymore, but there's always excess Twins and zone coverage. On the podcast today, the Twins were this close to winning 3 straight games Friday night, 6 outs, I believe, actually. Luke Keaschall had been called up from the minors to fix everything. Then Griffin Jacks had a blowout, dadgummit, again. Now they've lost 3 straight and find themselves 8.5 games out of first in the AL Central. What a debut, though, for Keaschall. What a fun 3-game start, and to think he looked like a trade chip for a Twins team that was just 1 or 2 moves away from great things in the postseason. That might have been me who said that. Now there's no chance they'd move Keaschall, who's come out of the gate like a Chuck Knobloch, Shane Mack hybrid super being. That would kind of bring the vibes way down, and also the offense if they moved him. And they're not close to the playoffs, so what are you making moves for, Dave? Also in the news, Pablo Lopez made a solid rehab start with St. Paul over the weekend and seems in line to return to the big league rotation Thursday when he's eligible to come off the injured list. So that means with Brock Stewart already back, the entire Twins pitching staff would be at full strength here on April 22nd. Man, that was a long penalty kill, wasn't it? To use the hockey parlance. But first, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year with Monarch Money. Do it now. Brandon, the Twins, they don't have the worst record in the league, and I don't think they're going to after this series with the White Sox, but it is, did you say in another dimension that it's getting awful early, late, or late, awful early?
Yeah, just, something.
They need a nice kickstart, and the White Sox are here, I think, to provide it. They've got a good record against them, as just about everybody else does the past couple years, and especially at home. They didn't sweep when they played them at Southside Comiscular Park earlier in the season. They took 2 out of 3. I'm not saying they need a sweep, but they need some sweeps at some point. They need to get on a roll. Remember how they did last year? Last year, they didn't start out in the grand scheme of things awful great, but they got going and won a bunch of games, and it's time to win a bunch of games.
They need to do to the White Sox what the Braves did to them, and just kind of not like knock them down a couple notches, but definitely set them back. And the White Sox are as far back as you can be set already. And Twins 12-1 at Target Field against the White Sox since the start of the 2023 season. I think it's like 23-6 overall in the head-to-head series. And so it's a definite get right series. And if they don't get right here, I think that's when things really can take on a different look, whether it's on the field, in the dugout, etc. Like, that's when I think things start getting really serious. And, this is a White Sox team that, their pitching, their starting pitching has been okay. And they'll see, Davis Martin, who doesn't strike anybody out, but has been okay. And then the Rule 5er, Shane Smith, who also doesn't really strike anybody out, but has good stuff. So it should be an entertaining series, and hopefully entertaining in the sense that the Twins sweep, get to double-digit wins, and then maybe can start thinking about, you claw your way back to 500, get into May, and start figuring some things out. Because this offense can't hit its way out of a wet paper sack right now, and that's including Luke Keaschall, who has, hit the ground running. And literally, I was surprised at how fast he was. I guess I don't know what I was expecting. But he really ran.
Definitely speed and grit and hustle and all that stuff is one of the things that he brings. But we'll talk more about Keaschall in later segments of the show. But and we don't want to cannibalize another idea for a show where we look at the state of Rocco Baldelli. And right now that's Minnesota, because that's where the Twins are. But how bad does it get? How long do they go with him? Now, there is another team in the league. I think I might have mentioned the Rockies. Even if I didn't, they're one of the two teams that have a worse record than the Twins. And the Rockies are visiting the Royals this week, and maybe I'll get a chance to scout them.
Mm-hmm.
not really scout, but to see what's so wrong with the Rockies. And one of the things that the Rockies have done in the last 72 hours or so was change hitting coaches. Now they didn't fire Bud Black. Bud's got that job for, I guess, as long as he wants, because they went to the playoffs a few years ago. It's hard to believe that the Rockies could be in the playoffs, but Bud Black was the manager, and they went. And it's been a while since that happened, but he's still there. But the Montfort Bill Schmidt head of the Rockies decided to fire Hensley Mullins, the batting coach, and Hensley's got a great reputation as far as getting the most out of his players. I think, batting coach is probably, 10% technical, is your swing right, and 90% psychological or mental. And the Rockies, just a few games into the season have changed batting coaches. Clint Hurdle, who used to be their batting coach and used to be their manager, had been kind of hanging around as a special advisor to Bill Schmidt, their general manager, and now he's the hitting coach again. The Twins, I don't know if they have somebody ready to take over in that light, but do you think there's any possibility whatsoever that if the Twins were to do something radical, that maybe it wouldn't necessarily be with the manager, but with the hitting coaches that they just hired just a few months ago, moving on from the previous hitting coaches? It seems outrageous to me that would happen, but also it's hard to fire a manager in the middle of a season and not be like completely disruptive with what you're trying to do. It's like one of those things that throwing out the baby with the bathwater, chopping off the wrong limb, just an overreaction. But firing the hitting coach, maybe that's something that could be entertained, as we play with people's lives and their jobs.
The direct comparison would be hiring Paul Molitor for that job, right? That's
right.
He was bench coach, he was manager. He even played on the team for, a spell in the 90s. But I don't know, the difference being that Bam Bam Mullins was with the Rockies for a while, and Borgerschlett's only been here about 3 weeks, 4 weeks for regular season. And so I don't know how analogous those situations are. However, it does have that air of despair where, teams fire their strength and conditioning coach. They fire their chef in the kitchen. I don't know. I don't know if we're close to that. And the Twins have been an organization of stability under the Pohlads. Of all the things you can ding them for, this isn't like the Mets where it's, 4 managers in 6 years or something like that. Is that for better or worse? That's up for debate. But it does, when considering the 12-27 slide down the stretch last year, those two things, like this start and that slide in conjunction with each other, do make me feel like, a tough series against the White Sox, especially a back-breaking loss like the first one in Atlanta. The wheels could be moving. I'm not supremely confident. You and I talked to some other fans and Twins types who I think are a little more certain that something could be imminent. But I definitely think there's an air of desperation that is not going to clear super quickly, although, sweeping the White Sox and getting to 10 wins would go a long way to just kind of resetting things, just having a soft reset, the season begins today on the whiteboard, like last year. So yeah, we'll see where they're at after this series, but it's as pivotal as an early season series with the worst team in the league can be, I think is fair to say.
Yeah. And even if they do, let's say they take 2 out of 3, or even if they sweep, I think that the good vibes and the traction has to continue beyond that. I don't think they can go another 2 or 3 series and keep losing ground like this. Especially, there have been a couple games where, you think that they're on the verge of, like the first game in Atlanta, for example, and even the second game, they were in good position to win. The only one where it really looked like they were not feeling too good about themselves was the last one. They got behind pretty early with Joe Ryan on the mound in their last game, and it was that was an unfortunate time for that. Yeah. But they also didn't, they did less offensively in that game than they had in other times too. So overall, the bullpen's had bad moments. The starting pitching, we were just complaining not too long ago about how they weren't going long into games. It's not like those areas have been perfect, but really the area of the team, the part of the team that has been struggling has been the offense. So Carlos Correa has to ignore his sore wrist and hit some more balls in the air. He's got a home run now. He had a couple hard passes in Atlanta, and it's looking better there. Buxton, Byron Buxton has been playing great. I don't even know what his slash line is, but I know that, he's been hitting the ball hard, hasn't always had something to show for it. He's been running the bases as well as he ever has in his career, which is hilarious at 31 years old after all that he's been through. So it's not like there's nothing going on. And we're going to talk about Luke Keaschall in a second too. You start like itemizing the offense, and it's like, well, this guy and that guy and that guy, why aren't they scoring more runs? So it's but they haven't been, and I think that needs to turn around soon.
Very quickly, I think the deal is with Buxton. I think he's got like a 290 or something OBP, but everything else is pretty much in line. He's hitting for power, and coming out of what seems like a bit of an early season funk, not quite as deep of one as Correa's, but he's making his way.
All right, we are going to take our first break, and it's going to be all about the Monarch Money, and then it's going to be all about the Twins.
Well, if you're like me, you've checked your bank account and wondered where all your money went between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment. It's extremely, extremely easy to lose track. Tell them, Wash. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop managing your money and start building wealth. The insights are what I really like. If you want to know what your net worth is, hopefully in your case, it's not super depressing, because certainly I know there's a lot of different factors in how you build your wealth that Monarch Money wants to help you with. But just remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, and Monarch Money wants to help you. And easy collaboration, you and whoever else you share finances with can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page and cut out that stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com to get 50% off your first year. That's Monarch Money, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
We are back. Locked On Twins is back. And Luke Keaschall was very impressive in not only his first game, but the whole series. I think he got off to a really good start. In the first game, he had it was a funny combination of stats that no one had ever had before in their first game. An extra base hit and a stolen base and a run scored, an RBI. And I've written a couple things for zone coverage that sort of look back on the start and also some of the other great beginnings in Twins history. And it's up there depending on, how you parse the statistics. Keaschall, I think I heard you say, Brandon, that he was maybe even faster than you were expecting. He brought a lot of energy. He had he wasn't just a guy up there hacking either. He seemed to have an idea about what he was doing. He hit the ball hard, and then sometimes if he had to bail out on a swing, like his first hit was one where he fought one off and made contact and did a little duck snort over first base, and it was just impressive the various ways that he was helping. He even played second base in a game. And I think they maybe are rushing that part a little bit, but whatever. I don't think it's to his detriment as far as his health, but maybe he's not. He's certainly coming off Tommy John surgery. He's not ready to play second base every day, but they don't need him to. But the first, it would be we probably would be over our skis excited about Luke Keaschall if the Twins had even won one of these games.
No question about it. And I think the approach from Keaschall looks mature. Like we talk about Simeon Woods Richardson as a mature pitcher for his age, experience level, whatever you want to say. I thought Keaschall took some great plate appearances, certainly not perfect, and I don't think anybody should expect perfect from a guy who's in his first big league stretch. And the speed, maybe I slept on the speed because of the second base profile. Like you just don't think of, or maybe you do. There are speedy second basemen, but I think of maybe Edward Julian has kind of ruined that for me, as he's slower than molasses on a January evening in Minnesota. But Keaschall has quickly become, granted, it's only 13 plate appearances, but like you said, really hard to imagine this offense without him, at least for now, until some guys get healthy. But, if you would have asked, people love to ask, and sometimes they ask just the most random people, when is this guy going to debut? And none of us have any idea. I think this for Keaschall would have been a lot earlier than even the most ardent Keaschall backers would have gone for. If you talk to someone that said, oh, Keaschall, best prospect the Twins have, which would be a stretch, I think they'd still say mid-season for when they figured he would have come up. And then, you figure the injuries and you figure that he's swinging it the way you hope he'd swing it. I think he's been everything they could have asked for. Having him hitting third on April 22nd, I don't think that was in the plans, but neither was winning 7 of your first 22 games. So your bet is made. Time to lie in it.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. I think if Keaschall had not ever hurt his Tommy John elbow, his UCL, if he had never had that injury, the way he showed in spring training, recovering from that injury, if he had not had it in the first place, I think that he would have gone north on opening day.
Would he have been traded? Funny. Would he have been traded if he was healthy? Do you think?
Well, not yet. But my thought about Keaschall being traded was in the scenario of everything else kind of going better for the Twins, and being in a position where they had a surplus. And right. I certainly wouldn't want to use the word excess, but if Brooks Lee had not hurt his back and gone north with the team and done well, and if Royce Lewis hadn't gotten hurt, there was at a certain point in spring training when everyone was still healthy, it was a situation where are all these guys going to play?
Like the bullpen last year, remember that?
Yes.
And then everybody got hurt in one weekend or something. Like I think and I are not the best luck barometers of that sort of thing.
We should just stop talking. Is that what you're saying? It's not going to happen.
I feel like that's not productive for a podcast, but yeah, you go on.
It isn't. But my thought was that it would be like a trade deadline thing where, the Twins, they're getting good production from, this is my hypothetical Twin season, where, Julian is back and Lee is good and Royce is swinging it. You can't play him at third. You can't play him at second. There's DH is one thing, but Trevor Larnach's hitting the ball well. You don't want to put him in center instead of Buxton. So where does he go? Ty France is working out at first base. Keaschall also has some training time at first base. He definitely doesn't. He sort of. I don't want to throw like the name Pete Rose around, but in terms of position, in terms of intensity and versatility on defense, that's kind of that's my outlandish comp. Is Pete Rose was the guy who he played the corners, he played second base. I think he made an all-star team as a left fielder. That kind of just give me the ball, coach, and I'll run it wherever you want kind of mentality is sort of what Keaschall is one of the things that he brings to the table.
What
that
about
said, yeah,
like a Marwin Gonzalez? Like, I don't think that's
but hopefully a lot better. But yeah,
I mean, banging the trash can, Marwin Gonzalez, not banging the ball into the ground in target field.
I don't want Carlos Correa banging any trash cans. It's not worth it, kid.
Lady
He tried that once.
I feel bad.
Hey, he hit a home run in Atlanta and also a double. So Carlos Correa is coming around, I'm sure.
How our expectations have fallen, though.
Yeah, kind of a little bit. But he's going to have to be better. And I think if you look at how Carlos Correa ended last season, a season ago, of course, we found out recently that he's had this wrist injury since last. I don't know when it was, but it was at some point last year when he started to feel it. So I don't know if that has something to do with why he's not getting the ball in the air. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. It is a wrist. You sort of need those to hit to swing a baseball bat. He's
been a slow starter in the past too, but never this slow. Like, I pulled some data on 20 whatever games into the season, and he's had, a low 600 OPS, but never in the fives. So it's not to say he can't dig out of it. He's definitely done it before. But one of the other times he had a start like this was his 2023 season, where I think he finished with like a 711 OPS.
That season, though, was when he played despite the nagging heel injuries with plantar fasciitis.
His fascia being planted. Yeah, that's a good point.
Exactly. So I don't think that's an issue. You can tell, though, one thing you can certainly tell with Carlos is that he is doing lots of maintenance on it, because if you get there at the right time before the game, you'll see him prancing around in his bare feet, training practicing for the game, getting warmed up and all that. But also he definitely picks his times to run. Those ground balls that are 99.9% going to be a 6-3. He's not busting it to first base, because if he did, he might be busting it on the bench for a week if he's has some kind of setback or longer. Yeah. So it's that is just the way it is right now with Carlos Correa, which is why I think more so than his ground game, than his running, getting the ball over the infield and hitting it hard is going to be paramount for him going forward, because any kind of speed game, I don't think we're going to see a lot from him at this point. So get that launch angle up, and I don't know if that's a Matt Borkschulte thing, or if this is we've got to get Paul Molitor on the case or something. But generally, the hitting for the Twins has to be better than it has been so far at this point. So, so we're going to go to an ad now, and then when we come back, we will talk more about the Minnesota Twins and their season. And we're back. Locked On Twins for the final segment. Just a few more minutes to go. We've talked about getting healthy against the White Sox. There's a series coming up. They play this week at U.S. Cellular Field. We talked about Luke Keaschall making his debut over the weekend in Atlanta, and how exciting it was, and how more exciting it would have been had the Twins won his first game, or any games in the series. The Braves, it's funny though. Have you noticed a couple things? I don't have the exact record, but so the Twins go to St. Louis, and I wasn't sold on the Cardinals one bit in the preseason and the exhibition season in the Grapefruit League season. I thought maybe they'd have a rough time, and they played the Twins and did pretty well. And but since the Twins have left town, the Cardinals have turned into pumpkins again. And now it hasn't been that long since the Braves and the Twins played each other, but the Braves sweep the Cardinals, and they've had all kinds of controversy in the last 48 hours about
Kelenic
not running the ball out. It was it was a great play by Larnach. I think maybe as good a defensive play as he's ever made. getting the ball that Kelnick hit off the wall, the fence in right field, and throwing him out at second base. But Kelnick did not bust it out. And Ronald Acuna has sort of gotten into the controversy, sort of inserted himself, because he has felt at other times that, if he pimped a home run, he shouldn't have, or otherwise did some kind of modern baseball player thing where he didn't bust it out of the box like you should.
She gone.
He's like, well, if I did that, I'd have been benched. And, I don't know enough about the backstory there to know for sure, like, who's right and who's wrong.
I think somebody posted a video that Acuna was benched after one of those, and that's why it was partially like Braves fans are a lot of things, but they don't forget anything. Braves fans are almost rabid, and they found footage of
Should
it or
be
whatever.
put out of their misery. Is that what you mean?
Well, put out of their misery. You know what I think though? I feel like every team after playing the Twins has gone in the toilet. Like the White Sox, like taking 1 of 3 against Twins, like, that's not so bad. And they've been just a mess since. And I think the Tigers might be the exception, right? Like the Cardinals have been a mess since. Didn't the Royals lose a whole bunch of games after they played the Twins, like 7 in a row?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, the Royals have been they're looking to get healthy against the Rockies, similarly to how the White Sox are going to be the remedy for the Twins. So yeah, they've been underachieving ever since they came in contact with our Twins.
They're doing the opposite of leaving a place better than you found it. It's they come in and rabble rouse and then leave everybody worse than they were before, which maybe if you were a good team, that would be a really good calling card. But now it's kind of like maybe it's just a stink that follows the Twins around and they leave it wherever they go. And hopefully they can get out of that. And this is a get right series. It's gotta be like I can't overstate how much of a get right series this should be. Now, could they get dropped 2 or 3 and still be fine? Yeah. But I just mean, you want to see some semblance of fight. And it's not that they're not fighting. It's just that it's not showing up. Runners on second and third and 2 outs. How much confidence do you have that either of those runners are scoring? Because right now, it's 0 for me.
Yeah, the other day, I don't know, was it no outs and they had the bases loaded and they got their run on a wild pitch? And it's like, well, all right, well, we're going to have to settle for that.
That's the run, yeah. Yep.
So, just as soon as you start talking too much about how, we're playing the White Sox, we got to get rabid, we got to get and a rabbit.
Get locked in. We're locked on.
Bunny. Get locked in the closet with the White Sox. Then you start like talking yourself out of it. Then it becomes like you put so much pressure on that you can't even take advantage of playing the White Sox.
You become the Timberwolves and you play down to your level, which is problematic when you're in the Western Conference. But again, I know Wolves are back, but we're not Ben Beacon, so sorry about that.
There's always a little bit of that with baseball, playing down to your level, just because that's kind of the nature of the game. The defense controls the ball. And it's just one of those things where baseball players, more so than other people in other sports, talk about the things they can't control. And there's a lot of things they can't control. And sometimes it just feels like they have no control, more so than anything else. And that's not exactly the kind of feeling that you want. There was one other thing I neglect to mention it. I wanted to in the Keaschall segment. We were talking about the Braves. One of the good signs, though, with Keaschall was, I thought, that their mascot Blooper took a shine to him immediately. The first game Friday night, Blooper was basically mirroring whatever Keaschall was doing.
No, that was Bader. Wasn't that Bader?
No, that was the second game.
Oh, he must. Maybe he got confused because they look almost identical.
You might be eating into my bit, but I think the first game it was Keaschall. He even Blooper even tweeted later. He's like, "Congratulations on your debut, Bubba." I was reading it in like Iron Sheik voice. Blooper's got a very intense troop with him and a social media team. And
he has aura. He has aura for sure.
He does. But if Blooper thinks that Keaschall has aura, that's a good sign for Keaschall. And it is possible because the next night he was hanging around with Bader as if, It's that guy from last night. Bader and Keaschall sort of look like they came from the same ovum.
It's like The Office when Michael can't remember which girl is his girlfriend, and so he marks her with a Sharpie on her arm. Have you seen that one?
I've seen like 1.5 Offices.
He gets like really drunk off Nagasaki, which is eggnog and sake. It's a drink they make up.
You can't say that.
Yeah, and so anyway, he gets drunk on a business lunch, and he starts like flirting with the waitress, and so he brings them back to the Christmas party, and it's two waitresses that actually don't even look that much alike. And he's like, I don't remember which one is the girl that I like. So he hugs her and then marks her arm with a Sharpie. It's classic.
All right. Well, we were going to say before we go, Pablo Lopez looks like he's going to be ready to go on Thursday. Of course, when we start talking about things like, well, Twins fans, this is going to happen next, and then something blows up. So, but if all goes well and we don't have anything to do with it, Pablo should be back in the rotation on Thursday. So,
boy, I hope nothing good happens. I hope nothing bad happens to the White Sox. We gotta use our powers for good here.
There you go, and that would mean that everybody in the best pitchers in the rotation and bullpen are healthy, and that's the first time all season that's happened. So, knock on wood for the Twins there. But we're going to see
close,
maybe so. But hey,
whatever that
means. Let me do this while we still have time. Thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. It doesn't get better than that. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. So for that guy over there, Brandon Warren, this guy over here, Dave Brown, wishing you all a very pleasant good evening, saying we will Alexei Casilla tomorrow night.
It's going to be quite a different place with him gone. That's for true.
No one's getting fired.